Alright, on to part 2 for the Photoshop tutorial. I'm just going to give you a quick little look here on how we go about creating a canvas to work on. First of all, something really simple. You click on the file menu up the top here and you'll see new, and that there's where you go to create a new canvas. Before I click that or do anything there, I'll show you something. On the right hand side over here, if you look next to new there, it says Control plus N, right? What this is called a mnemonic. That's a shortcut mnemonic, and that means it tells you what the shortcut is for doing that. So on your keyboard you can do it without actually using your mouse. So that one there is Control N. So if I don't create a new one and then I hold down Control on my keyboard, bottom left hand corner, and then hit N, it brings up that window like that. Same thing happens when I do that. So it's just a shortcut. That's a little tip there, just so you can, that exists in a lot of programs in Office and things like that. You can look for mnemonics, and if you see the mnemonic for it, you can go, okay, that's how you do that automatically just using the keyboard. So it's a bit of a quicker way to get around. Alright, on this screen though, what we're going to cover is we're going to have a look here at the presets first of all. Sometimes you might just want to use a preset. You can use web, and that gives you a whole bunch of preset web sizes. Or film and video, you've got HD, if I want to use HD or something, you can use that. So it's full HD size. But in this particular example, I'm just going to go custom, and then make it 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. So whatever size image you want to have there, you'll set your width and height. Below that you're going to have resolution. I usually don't touch this, just leave it as it is, it's fine. Below that you've got color mode. You can set it to grayscale, which is black and white, or you can go RGB, which is red, green, blue. That's basically what I use, so I leave that as it is. This one here where you got background contents, you can actually change the background color of the canvas as it's created. So if you make a new canvas to paint on, you might say, I want a white background, so you can choose white and that will make it white. Or you can use background color, which basically I'll show you how you tell you what your foreground and background colors are. Over here on the left, just see that one there, that one there in front is black, so the foreground color is black, background color is white. So if I was to go background color, it's basically just going to make it white at the moment anyway. I'll cover a little bit more on that when I get to the foreground background colors. Anyway, for this one I'm going to go transparent. I'm going to make it a completely see-through background. I don't want a color. So what we can do here is we can choose our own color. So let's say I want to paint this thing myself, and I want to say choose a color. I would click on there. I'll just drag this across here. And it comes up with a window like that, where you can actually choose your colour. So I'll show you that again. You click there it is. It comes up with those. You can choose colours like this, so you can actually choose a shade of a colour like that. Or if you want to get down to really fine tuning what colour you want, you can do it this way. So you might want a particular purple or something like that. Like if I go here and I say, okay, I want to go down to here and I want it to be more of a sort of a Cadbury purple or something, I can choose that and I can say, okay, I want my background like that. So I can, to do that, I just use this paint bucket tool here, paint bucket. Also, while we're here, if you look at these tools here, the ones that have that little tiny arrow in the corner means that they have multiple tools for those buttons. So here for the paint bucket, if I click on it, I can actually change it to the gradient tool. So push and hold and you just change it. So paint bucket, I'm going to use that, and paint bucket always paints this foreground color. So if it's purple, it's going to fill it in purple. So that's fill basically. It's just the paint bucket tool. Also I'll show you something there too. If you go paint bucket tool, right, you can see that if let's say if I choose something else, if I hit G, see how if I hover over that, it says paint bucket tool G. You got shortcuts. So if I hit G on my keyboard, it goes straight to the paint bucket tool. So these things also have shortcuts. Same thing with you. Have a look there. See the mnemonic G. You don't have to hit anything. You just hit G. That's E. These ones here are M. So if I want to go up, let's say I'm on the paint bucket, I hit M, takes me up to there. There you go. So just a few little tips there that you can use where you can actually choose stuff quickly without even clicking on it if you really want. I don't use those a whole lot, the mnemonics there for those. I usually just click it and find what I want and go for it like that. So anyway, so we'll go with that now. I'll change the colour to black instead. Let's go black, and it's black background. Now what I do want to show you is probably one of the most important parts, and that is down the bottom left hand corner here, or right hand corner, sorry, you'll notice layers. So in layers here you can see layer 1, it shows black, it's a little preview there, it's got an eye next to it. If I click that eye, it makes it disappear. If I click it again, it makes it come back. So I'm going to hide it for a moment. So now it's invisible, looks transparent, there's nothing there. Alright, so down the bottom here, right down the bottom, you notice some little things right down the bottom. There's a one there, second from the right, which is create new layer. If I click that, it creates layer 2. As you can see there, I've got layer 1, layer 2. Layer 2 is visible, and layer 1 I've made invisible. So, and usually the way that this works is just like anything with layers. This is the bottom layer. So underneath, let's say if I make that visible again, and I get this, I click on this second layer, like make sure you've selected the layer you want. So this is going to be above this. So if I get, let's say I'll choose a different color first so we can actually see it. Choose sort of, yeah, that'll do. And I click on here with my text tool here. That's the text tool. What we can do is we can go, it's not very visible because it's very small. So let's say that's not very big, right? So let's try. We can either set it before we type like this. So if I go 72 and I go, right, or if I hold Shift and then hit Home now that I've typed it, right, that what that does is if your cursor is at the end here, I hold Shift. If I use my arrows on my keyboard like I hold Shift, I can actually select the text that I want. See what I mean? Hold Shift allows you to select. So if you ever play around with that, you can actually select individually different letters. But if I want to select the whole lot there, I could. You can either go Control. You can go Control A as well. That selects the whole thing. Control A. So if you've only got a certain amount of sizes here, you don't really see anything. You could go Other, which doesn't really do anything. So how do you set a bigger size? You simply type it in here. So if I go 200 pixels, that's going to be a little bit bigger on that image. So if I click up here, this is my Move tool. See how it's sitting off the side? I can actually move that to where I want. So that's the Move tool. Hello everybody. I'm not very creative this afternoon, but there we go. Hello everybody. Let's go and look at how we would change that font size. So now that we have this layer here, which has actually got my text on it, and this one here, which is my background. If I click on the text layer again, what I can do is if I hit my text tool, horizontal type tools they call it there, and then I click in there, you click on the text, it should come up with that. You can actually select it with your mouse as well. So if I go and select that all again, let's say I want to go and choose a different font, let's say. This is where you would go and choose whatever font that you would like. So let's say this one here, and I want it to be slightly bigger, let's say 250, that'll do. So, and then once you're done with this text tool, you hit that, which is accept. It says that you're happy to accept changes. So sometimes if you're not sure what to do, have a look up here. There might be a cross and a like I'll show you here again. See how you got that? That on there is, cancel current edits or commit current edits. So if I've changed something and go, let's say I want to go like this, and I say instead of everybody, I'm going to change it to world. Hello world. Now I go, that's actually not what I wanted. I can actually click on cancel current edits. If I do want to accept it, I can go OK. So there you go, hello world. So there you go, you've got something pretty simple there. But let's say I would much rather have this as a darker purple, right? Like say like that, you know, and then go okay, there it is. But now suddenly it doesn't really work with the black background. So let's see this thing here where you can actually swap your foreground and background. So let's say I want to use the background as my foreground. You can hit that there and that will swap them around. So white was my background and now it's my foreground. That's a cool little thing. You can just flip them around if you wish to do that. So now I'll click on the paint fill bucket again and I'll click in there and that fills that. If you ever get something weird happen, like let's say I go like this and it's not letting you fill, see how it's saying you can't fill? It's because I've selected the wrong layer. I've selected a text layer. I've got to go and select this layer here. So there we go, I go and fill that and I have hello world. I'm going to show you something else, just a little tidbit here that you can do. See how it's very flat and you don't really get any the text doesn't sit out from the page or anything like that. What you can do is right click on the text layer and you go blending options. And blending options, let me drag that window over here so you can see. You'll have a bunch of things where you can do bevels and things like that. I'm going to show you drop shadow. And drop shadow will allow us to drop more or less of shadow, as you can see there as I'm adjusting it there in the background. If I go like this and change the spread of that drop shadow or the size of that drop shadow, these three things here, you can have a play around with them and see what works for you, or if you want it like that, or it's too, you know, it's too much or too little. You can actually play around with that. So I'm going to drop that down a lot because that was too much. Let's try play around here with that. I'm just going to get that and say just a little bit of drop shadow. Make it a bit big. There we go. Now let's say it's too bright and you want to dull it down. You've got opacity. See this? This is actually going to drop how transparent or how opaque it is. So if you drop it down like that, it's going to give a little bit of a drop shadow, not too distracting. You can sort of go with that. So that's one thing you can do. You can do drop shadows. If you don't want to do a drop shadow, you can untick it there like that. Now it just goes back. You can do outer bevels, which sort of changes. Let me see if I can show you what happens here. Let's try that. Oh, that's outer bevel. It's not going to be able to see it there. Hang on, inner bevel. We'll try inner bevel. Inner bevels, you can, have a play around with them anyway, and you can sort of see what does what. Satin adds like a dark overlay. Don't use that too much. You can add a gradient overlay to something. So if you go gradient, tick that, and then click on it, you can actually select an overlay for something. So look at that, hello world. You can change the angle that comes in. If you want it to come in from a slightly different angle, you can do that there as well. So that's how you do a gradient overlay over something you're doing. If you want to do stroke, what that is just an outline. That's all stroke does. You know, I use that sometimes, but not always. So, so that there, we won't worry about that. Don't worry about our shadows or anything. That's how you do some of the blending options, like shadows and things like that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I am going to copy from my web browser right now a picture of Lucy. And I'm going to say new to make a new file, and you'll notice that this has changed to clipboard. It detects automatically what you've copied and makes it the size that you need. So if I go like that now and paste, you'll see there's my picture of Lucy. So what we might want to do is, let's say, to make this nice and easier, what we could do is, you've got these tools here. This is selection tools, by the way, where you've got rectangle, which allows me to select like that, or you know, it can be longer or whatever you want to do. This one here is your elliptical one, where you can select a circle like that. When you just do it normally with your selection tools, you can make, you know, any kind. It can be an you know, ellipse, or it can be a circle. But let's say I wanted to go for a perfect circle. You hold your Alt key. I think it's Alt or Shift. Shift does a different one. See that? Shift starts from where I started up here and goes out, but it makes a perfect circle. See that? Boom, perfect circle. Now let's say I want to select from there outwards, right in the middle of Lucy's eyes, right? I hold Alt, and Alt starts from the middle and goes out, right? But it's still doing that. So what happens if I hold Alt and Shift? There you go, from the middle, and it's a perfect circle. So you can sort of do things like that. So once again, hold Alt actually goes from the middle of where you've selected. So if I start on Lucy's nose there, it starts from there and goes outwards, as you can see there. Whereas opposed to the other way, if I don't hold Alt, it starts from the top left and goes to wherever you want. See? So that's what the story is there. So by holding a combination of Alt, which makes it start from the center, and then hold Shift, it'll make it change to a perfect circle. If I let go of Shift, you'll see that it goes back to being like a ellipse. See, if I hit Shift again, perfect circle. So I'm holding Alt and Shift as I make the circle larger. So the same thing there happens with all of these. Rectangle, the same thing. If I go make a rectangle right now, if I hold, let's say I go near Lucy's nose and I start there and I make a rectangle, same thing, it goes out. If I hold Shift, it's a square. So it just, what that is it constrains the proportions. What that means is it makes it a perfect aspect of, you know, height and width. So that's how you do that bit. So you've got these things here, which is your basic selections of you know, rectangle and ellipse. You've also got these ones down here, which is Lasso, and Lasso is a bit of a pain because it's just like a freehand thing, and it's, you know, not very good for some things. You've got Polygon Lasso, which I use quite a lot, and you can kind of, you know, select whatever shape you want, and then you just, if you want to finish the end and you're not sure where to go, like, I'll show you what I mean. I'll go Control D, that's deselect. Let me say let's say I wanted to go like this. I want to go over here, and then I want to go down there, and then I want to go down here, and then I want to go over here, and then I want to go there, but I want it to join up. I will double click, bang, and it joins me back up to the end. Well, the other way you can do it is if you go like this, and then you go towards where the end is, you'll see the little circle pops up next to the cursor. That means that you can actually finish the selection. So you can do it two ways. You can either double click or to finish the selection, or you can finish it yourself. So I'm going to show you a little bit to do with the Polygon Lasso tool very soon. I'll show you what the Magnetic Lasso tool does. If I want to zoom into this image here, I hold down Control and use my mouse scroll upwards like that, and it zooms me in, as you can see there. Now, what the Magnetic Polygon Lasso tool is supposed to do is it's supposed to stick to the edge. Right, now it does work sometimes, it doesn't work other times. It seems to be working okay. See how it went inside the hair there? Not very good though. That's why I prefer to do it this way. I'm going to go Control D, and that deselects that. Let me zoom in here a bit closer so I can get a bit, you know, closer into things. So let's say I want to select along this edge. I'm just going to select just on the inside of the bit where the pixels are going up, right? And you'll see that I'm doing it in little tiny steps. So the idea here is that I can kind of control how this actually looks. So you know, if it's going to be a smoother edge, sometimes if you do it very carefully, you're going to end up with a better result in your image. So like this, you know, and you can actually cut the entire Lucy out. I've already done this about 3 or 4 times, so I don't think I'll do it again. But let's say that was my selection and I want to get rid of that. So that's now selected that. I can go delete, and that actually kills off just that little section there. But be wary that when you make a selection, it actually gets rid of what's in the middle of that selection. So let's say I've gone all the way around Lucy here, and I've created a look, I'll show you with this one. This is the magic wand selection. Down below that, magic wand. So it selects pretty much, as you can see there, it's selected mostly pretty good. Not too bad actually, around the outside of Lucy. You can actually change the tolerance, and what the tolerance does is, like, let's say if I make that 50, I'm going to deselect that again. It might accidentally select inside. See how it's sort of, it's not quite right? You can make it less or more, right? So some tools have a tolerance. So if you look up here, when you select a tool, you'll often get like a tolerance or something like that. So that one there, I've gone to 10. 10 looks quite good. So let's say that's pretty well selected the outside of where we want. Now, same thing with this tool here. If I go and hold down Shift, see how that has a minus sign? Sorry, Alt, it has a minus sign. If I hold down Shift, it has a plus. So plus means I can add to this selection. So see that? I've added there. So let's say here, I go plus again. It's added this bit to the selection. Now there's a bit down near the hand here. I've added that to the selection just by holding down Shift. So yes, so here down here we're probably going to have to clean that up a little bit more. But let's say that we selected Lucy perfectly and we wanted to cut out the background. If I hit delete, right, that's actually done that correctly. But let's say we actually didn't want to delete the background. What we were doing is we actually just wanted to select Lucy. What we could either do is we could go select and invert, and that would only select Lucy. So I can actually get rid of Lucy. It just basically inverts the selection. So that's that. I didn't want to make it too complicated, but that there is how you can invert selections and things. This one here is kind of handy for when you're selecting a particular color. You know, like all this whole background is one big bit. It can be a bit more difficult when you got like see here, it's getting into gradients down the bottom where you got the reflection. It hasn't quite selected because it's all different. So that's basically what the story is there. I'll cover some more in another one because we're already up to about 23 minutes. So hope this part helps you out a little bit.